Deutsche Bank recently came out with an article or a request that says Deutsche Bank calls for a 5% privilege tax on people choosing to work from home. It says the financial firm says that this tax could generate millions for frontline workers. And of course, this sort of virtue signaling is just literally more theft, right? Taxation is theft, any way you want to slice it. And so, of course, Deutsche Bank is calling basically for the government to tax people who work from home because we're privileged all of a sudden because we're working from home. It's not that we chose to work from home. It's that many of these entities were pushed out of working into offices because of the pandemic, as it goes on to state that the remote working and learning, it says, taken as a preventative measure against the pandemic transmission, has rendered millions of Americans homebound. Offices, schools, and other public working spaces have been closed for months as a result, as the pandemic rages on. There's a new report commissioned by the financial giant. Deutsche Bank proposes that for individuals who continue to work from home rather than in an office, a 5% income tax should be levied to support lower income workers who do not have the opportunity to stay home. And because this is as a part of its rebuild report, it calculates that the average worker would not be any worse off by paying this tax because the cost saved when working remotely, and this is just, of course, silly. Many of the individuals, for example, if you were paying attention back when, like places like Facebook, when many of their workers, as they were told to go back home, if they left, there were many of them that were working in San Francisco or they were working in other cities, and then they were like, well, why am I paying $4,000 to live, with my family in a shoebox when we can go out into the countryside and since I can do my job now from home. As a result of that, many of these companies that sent their employees to work from home, and they said if you left the city in which you originally were in, that they would cut their salaries by 18%. And this happened both in Facebook and in other companies that where most of these individuals could do their job from home, because typically most of it revolved around online. This also, of course, would affect individuals like you and myself who do trading from home. So if you're a trader, you're privileged to work from home because you have a skill set that allows you to work from home. I guess ergo reducing your risk, for contracting the pandemic. Now, this, of course, is pushed by, of course, Deutsche Bank, of course, who recently did invest quite heavily into a new major center. And of course, this is typically what you see, this sort of virtue signaling to the government under the guise of we're going to help out, the poor worker, as they say here, that they're going to help out those who are typically lower income. And realistically, we know that that's not going to happen, as many of these companies, of course, as a result of people realizing we really don't need your real estate office anymore, and so that reduces these companies' cost overall, because now I don't need that multi-million-dollar real estate office anymore. And so a lot of these companies that heavily invested in real estate, of course, are now feeling the pain, and as a result, they want to use the state to basically put a gun to your head and say, give me 5% of your income. Or of course, basically, this type of threat from a private company like Deutsche Bank should not be taken lightly, especially for those who work from home, especially if you're a trader working from home, because this is basically them utilizing the state basically to take 5% of your income. And it's something that you and I should both pay attention to.